Well, that's one of the things we're creating by this Blueprint series is to bring back the volume training. A lot of people have gotten away from it because they think they're overtraining. So what do you have to say about that?
Well, I think that I liked to be a little bit overtrained because to me, I responded better and I got more definition because remember, in my days, we were not as sophisticated when it comes to dieting and we didn't have the food supplements that are available today.
There are two camps in bodybuilding, one led by Arnold and one led by Mike Mentzer. In part 1, I cover Mike Mentzer, the low volume one set to failure style training. Now, in part 2, I'm going to cover Arnold's style of training, which is quite different from Mike Mentzer's. Although Arnold occasionally dabbled in science, he's much of an early quote-unquote gym bro bodybuilder. He's easily the most famous bodybuilder of all time, and clearly gained a lot of muscle. But the question was Arnold right? Just like Mike Mentzer's, Arnold's training style and philosophy can be divided into 4 different principles. The first one being high volume training. Pretty much train at incredibly high volumes, doing 3 to 5 exercises for bigger muscles and 2 to 4 for smaller muscles, as well as for each exercise doing 2 to 4 sets. He also mentioned you probably won't have time to do this all in one day, so you can split your workout into 2 different parts in one day, working out for 4 or 5 hours in just one day. Principle number 2, go to failure, or at least 1 rep away. He mentioned you should go to failure on every single exercise. Yes, all of them, even stuff like squat and deadlift. And if you can't go to failure or simply don't want to, 1 rep away will also be fine, although the results will be diminished. 3, focus on the mind-muscle connection. He mentioned that a lot of bodybuilders simply just do the motions without actually doing the exercise. He mentioned how you should focus on the mind-muscle connection and feeling the muscle contract in each exercise. And number 4, shock the muscle. He mentioned how after a few weeks, your body will get used to doing the exercises and you need to switch them up in order to stimulate growth. Pretty much every single time you do a training session, it works a little bit less and less. Once you change it up, it works more, but slowly works less over time, and not every few weeks you need to switch it up. So, now that we know his ideas, how do his ideas stack up? First principle is kinda meh. While it is shown that higher volume leads to more results, that's to an extent. Generally, 2 sets is better than 1, and 3 is better than 2. 4 is better than 3 sometimes. However, once you get to 5, maybe even 6, is really diminished at that point, especially once you account for the fact he's doing 3, 4, maybe even 5 exercises per muscle, which that's a lot to recover from. But you gotta keep this in mind, he was on gear, and could recover from a lot more than someone who isn't on gear. This also goes for Mike Mentzer, who could grow a lot more from 1 set than one person who's not on gear would. Now once you account for the fact he wants you to go to failure in every single set, this becomes nearly impossible to recover from. As with pretty much most training plans, if you just began in the gym, this plan will work just fine. However, once you get more and more advanced, you'll struggle to recover. At the end of the day, I say principle 1 is a little meh, while principle 2 works very well once you adjust the volume down. Instead of doing 3 to 4 exercises, I do 1 to 3, and instead of 4 or 5 sets, I do about 2 to 3. However, when it comes to principle 3, he really was on point. A lot of people in the gym just go through the motions without actually doing the exercise. It's literally been shown that if you improve your mind-muscle connection, i.e. feeling the muscle contract in each movement, you will grow more. This is especially true for isolation movements. However, when it comes to principle 4, it's a little complicated. Generally, training growth is not necessarily linear and comes in spurts. Although when you are in the gym on a good plan, you will grow slowly over time. If you improve the plan, you'll see small little bursts that last a little bit, and then you'll go back to baseline level. You do generally want to try new exercises, but less about shocking the muscle and more about variety and learning what works for you. Although with the caveat that shocking the muscle does work for some, although I would experiment if I were you. Altogether, I'd say his training was generally on point, especially when it comes to stuff like mind muscle connection and going to failure. Although once you combine the failure training and the high volume training, it becomes a little iffy. If you dial back the volume just a little bit, it'll work very well long term. As well as Arnold was actually an early pioneer of quote unquote drop sets, which means going to failure on your working weight and cutting the weight by about half and then going to failure on that. Now let's go beyond training and do the ideas that he had on diet. He was pretty much like every golden age era bodybuilder, high in fat, high in protein, doing 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, low in carbs, as well as he ate around 5 meals per day. Overall, this is actually pretty good, especially the 1 gram protein per pound of body weight rule. Although, if you simply don't want to eat that much protein, 0.9 or even 0.8 will work just as well. High fat gets overblown as bad for your health, but it's actually pretty good for your health, especially when you eat healthy fats. Although, when it comes to meal intake per day, it really depends on the person. If you're a big eater, 2 to 3 meals will suffice. However, if you're a small eater with a small appetite, separating your meals with 4 to 5 meals per day will also work. Although the meal size will depend on where you're at in your phase. cutting, bulking, or maintaining. As I mentioned earlier in the video, Arnold's the most famous bodybuilder of all time, to the point that he's so famous, people rarely question him. After analyzing his training and diet, overall, I'd say he was generally right with some iffy points here and there. You should be focusing on the mind-muscle connection. You should be doing drop sets. You should be doing higher volume training, not quite as high as he did, but high volume. You should go to failure. You should generally shock the muscle. You should eat 1 gram protein per pound of body weight. So, overall, was Arnold right? Generally, yeah. That's pretty much it. First of all, I want to thank you for watching. Overall, there isn't much to say. I'm probably going to do a video on the Arnold split. Next video is going to be on the squat, though. I have a surprise video coming soon. I'm not going to say anything about it because I want it to be a surprise. And thank you for letting that Mike Mentzer video do well. As of recording this, it has 1.7k views, which is by far my most viewed video. Thank you. Anyway, I want to sing here. Thank you for watching. See you next time, and bye.
Check out my new favorite channel. It is so good. Oh my god. Look at it.